Hey, this is Jonas from ROOK. In today's episode, I'm going to explain you real quick how to connect Base44 with ROOK. So you can use Base44 as a vibe coding, no coding tool on top of ROOK's wearable data. We will provide you with this little guide here, which basically lays out overall like the information that's most critical, which is the backend characteristics, webhook characteristics, etc., that you need to set this up. Obviously, on like the purpose of the app or the front end experience, you have full flexibility. But to give you an example, so I told Base44 here, I want to create a mobile app that connects wearables via ROOK. I want to create a baseline for resting heart rate, HRV, total sleep, active calorie over 14 days. And whenever the user is kind of going out of their baseline, then I want to have alerts coming through in this kind of alerts tab. And I define a little bit like the different screens I need, such as dashboard, login screen, the alert screen, and a settings section where I have the option to connect devices, etc. And then for all the backend information, I really just copy pasted the whole guide that we have prepared for you. So you basically just copy all the way from here to the end of the document. It's a long document. But this explains to Base44 how the data is structured, how to use the different keys, how to deal with time zones, how to create the webhook, etc. So this you don't have to worry about. You can just copy this all in, and then you basically hit enter, and you wait until Base44 does its magic and creates like the first screens and login options, etc. That was kind of like the first step. Important was, in order to be able to work with like the backend components, you need to have backend enabled. So when you go to the pricing, not all of the packages have backend functions enabled. You need to have at least the builder package or something bigger in order to have this. So I contracted the builder package, and then I enabled in the app settings here, you enable, let me see where this was, app visibility batch, backend functions. There you go, you have to activate this. And then once backend is enabled, and you go a bit through the process of, okay, how do I connect now a device, etc. The same platform, Base44, will ask you certain information. So you can basically just always go ahead and share the reference from ROOK to the tool. So I said, okay, now how do I connect then a device? I need a connection page. So you send to Base44 this page here. It gives reference on like the connection page that I need. And then it literally plugs in here your connection page. So the option to connect a device. So you can hit on this button and it opens then the option to create a connection page. If you go further through the process, one other step that is super important is it will ask you for information on like the secret keys. Those secret keys, etc., you get when you set up the ROOK environment. And for testing purposes, you can just start with like a sandbox account. You hit get started on our website, start now, and it will lead you to our developer experience, to our portal. By default, when you create an account, you'll be sitting in the sandbox environment. And then down here in the settings section is where you really start the experience. So first of all, you create your credentials, the client UUID, which is exactly what is asked here. So like as part of the chat back and forth, you will see that you have to provide that information. So you provide the client UUID as well as the secret key that you're generating. This secret key, keep it stored somewhere safe because that's important further on as well. And then again, here is obviously like the option to have a test connection page. What you can do also is just copy and paste this as an example and give it to Base44 as a reference. So I often just put in here, build out the connection page using this as a reference. And then I put in here like the example, as well as I would just take the whole documentation on data authorization, and you just drop it into the chat. and then send it out, and it builds out these components. So with the connection page in place, you can then hit just open connection page and you can start connecting devices, as you can see here. In the real world, this would look somewhat like this. So here I'm already logged with a real user in the public version. I have now 2 devices connected. If I now want to connect a 3rd device, I would, for example, hit Garmin, and then it opens the native flow here through the Garmin Connect experience. Let's see if this is opening. There we go. And then you just log into your account. Yes, historical data as well. Save, and I agree. And now it returns me again to the connection page. And it will start syncing for all 3 devices information. So Garmin, ROOK, and Oura. In this real scenario, I connected previously a Whoop device, so I see first data coming in. It's still starting to sync here, but I already get like 7 days worth of sleep data here, and all the other information should be coming up in a bit as well. The most complicated thing was, and if you observe here the chat, I had a little bit of a back and forth going on around the setup of the webhook and endpoint. In the end, I landed on the correct thing thanks to the support. So I understood that I just have to put here the app name, and I named it Base44 ROOK. And then these components were given from the same chat interface to me, but I understood this wrong. So it has to be the full app name and app ID. So you can see this is a lot longer, and then functions ROOK webhook in the end. So this is the final URL that I needed, and I took this one in to then configure the data sending. So you go into the settings section here in ROOK, configure data webhook, and here's where you copy this URL in. So you click edit, you copy that URL in here, and you hit save. And now data starts flowing. So explaining this a bit from a ROOK perspective, there's 3 important steps. You need client UUID and secret key, and this has to be synced with Base44. This is that Base44's backend that we've enabled knows who is communicating. So this helps us to create this connection securely. We need, in the Base44 app, we need a connection page. And part of this connection page is that Base44 is always creating a user ID for every new user. So if I'm logging in here, I am the user Jonah Stucker, and there's my email address, but it creates as well user ID, which is used to then connect the devices. So part of this is the user ID. And then the 3rd step is ROOK. Once we have permission from the end user to extract the data, we need obviously a location and destination where we send the information to. That's what we do here with like the data webhook. And we need Base44 to define us where to send the data to. And that is the structure it needs to be. So this is the only component which was a bit tricky to understand exactly how Base44 needs the structure. But if you just otherwise write to the support here, it was super helpful, because I put in here, okay, use this URL for like the endpoint webhook configuration, but I don't see any data coming in, and it just directly gave me then the solution of how to fix this. And that's it from a ROOK perspective. Now the users, any user that connects a device through the app environment of Base44, ROOK is starting to collect the data. And once we have the data collected and we processed and cleaned the data, we will then send the information to this endpoint, which is the endpoint that is mentioned here in Base44. And then we see actually here in the data set, okay, we have the users. So it's like the one I used to create it, and this one was the user, my test user that I connected. And I now see already data coming in. And if I go into the preview, actually first data is being interfaced, such as the sleep data. Sorry, that's the wrong tab. Such as the sleep data that we see here. That's kind of it. And then everything else is really just continue building out whatever you really want to achieve. So if we would want to add more details about sleep when clicking on the sleep tab. right? So like I can just add more and more layers of information based on what is available, basically. If you are not sure what data is available, you can always jump into the tech documentation at ROOK. You can check, for example, for Garmin devices, what type of body metrics, physical health metrics, or sleep metrics can I expect? And these data points I can obviously then use to build on top here in Base44. I hope this was helpful. Let's see if what Base44 comes up with here real quick, but I think that's kind of like the overview of how to get started with ROOK in Base44. So it added now, sleep breakdown. Let's see, let's give it a refresh. And then we should be able to see a further breakdown of like the sleep information. No, I think it didn't add this yet. Add sleep information. Total sleep. All right, I think now it's there. It's just because in this demo user there's no data, but yeah, sleep breakdown is down here now. Well, let's publish and we can see real quick on the actual user because sleep data had already been synced. So that's the actual user. Let's give it a refresh here. Total sleep and the sleep breakdown. Yeah, so like deep REM, light sleep, wake up time, bedtime. Awesome. So yeah, this is working. Data comes in right now for this test user. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much.